The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
There's nothing wrong with disagreement. Freedom of speech is something that makes this country great. But lately, the right's gone too far. Their rhetoric has been ugly, disrespectful, and offensive. Right-wing protesters greeted the president when he landed in Arizona this week. They weren't just protesting policy. They were personally attacking President Obama. The Arizona Republic reports, quote, Obama foes at one point saying, "Bye bye black sheep," a derogatory reference to the president's skin color. One protester raised a sign saying, "Impeach the half-white Muslim." "He's 47% Negro," shouted a 77-year-old resident. Others claimed he wasn't born in America.
I'm here to show my displeasure with our current poser-in-chief.
And you call him poser-in-chief?
Yes, because he does not have a legal birth certificate for the United States of America.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it?
He can't be impeached. He's not a citizen.
He's not a citizen? This type of talk is ludicrous. Where could they possibly get it from?
I don't know whether Barack Obama was born in the United States or not. I don't know. But I do know this, that in his heart, he's not an American. He's just not an American.
All I can tell you is that the general consensus is that he has produced a birth certificate. The question is it legitimate?
I mean, if somebody asked me my birth certificate, I go to my baby book and get it out and say, here it is.
Let's go back and revisit some of these things because Americans have questions about not only the IRS scandal, but also about the president's validity.
They said, well, if it is truly illegal, he shouldn't be there when we can get rid of everything. He's done. I said, I agree with that.
From the top down to the grassroots, the right wing is dehumanizing this president. Is it any wonder there's a gridlock in Washington, that nothing can get done? The other doesn't even believe that our president should be president. No wonder they refuse to compromise, even for the good of the country. Joining me now are Goldie Taylor and Ari Melber. Thank you both for coming on the show.
Thanks, Rev.
Thank you, Reverend.
Goldie, let me start with you. Is it any wonder we can't get anything done? I mean, the other side keeps trying to delegitimize the president.
I think, I am all for a strong two-party system. In fact, I wish there were a strong third party. I think that that's where the real work gets done in terms of moving this country forward. But, we have a system of checks and balances where our president gets together with this Congress and tries to really work it out. We haven't seen any of that over these years since President Obama has been in office. I've called it Obama derangement syndrome. Yeah. There were people in this country who did not believe that we would elect an African-American president. In fact, they were outright stunned by it. They said that he must have gotten in by fraud. And if not by fraud or ACORN or some other notion, then he must not be a legitimate president. And so there were people who hold positions of power, unfortunately, who were sowing the seeds that this president was not legitimate. And if he's not legitimate, then you don't have to answer his orders if you are a member of the armed forces. Yeah. Then you don't have to actively negotiate with him in good faith if you're the Speaker of the House. If you don't believe that he is legitimate, then you don't believe that the laws that he's working on, the policies that he's putting forward,
compromises.
You don't work on compromise.
Ari, the thing that gets me is there's a poll that came out in January that showed Republican voters still believe this birther stuff. 64% of GOP voters said they believe President Obama is hiding important information about his early life and background. I mean, no wonder the Republicans are afraid to compromise. 64, almost two-thirds of the Republicans in that poll believe that this birther nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shocking statistic if you haven't been paying attention. If you have, you know that that is the undercurrent of a lot of these standoffs. In the reporting I've done on this issue and also on voting rights, what I hear from a lot of African-American voters is, first they went for him, and now they're coming for all of us.
That's right.
And the birth certificate thing This birtherism is now going to the grassroots because, as you've reported in North Carolina and several states, you've got people literally saying we should legislate these extra, not only ID requirements, but you have to scare up a birth certificate to get back in and get the very right that we earned so long ago.
Well, it starts in Arizona with ID for so-called immigrants, which is Latinos, racial profiles. Then it goes to North Carolina and other states. And the president, there's no stopping this. And, you know, Goldie, Senator Tom Harkin, the Democratic senator, he recently spoke about a closed-door Senate meeting that he attended. And he says, I'm quoting him, I'm not naming any names, but one senator got up from a southern state and said, well, you've got to understand that to my people down here, Obama seems like, and he thought for a second and said, like he's exotic. I mean, there's a senator saying, and we all know what he pauses and says, exotic, what the connotation there is.
Well, he may have well just called him colored, because I think that's really what he meant, that he's not really one of us, that he is not an American in his heart, as we heard some other congressmen saying earlier in the tape. And so if you can cast him as an other, cast him as an outsider, cast him as someone who does not believe in the very values embodied in the American dream, then you don't have to subscribe to the notion that you have to negotiate with him, that you have to pass laws with him, that you have to you can delegitimize his entire public policy, both foreign and domestic, if you can accomplish that. And there were people out there, clearly in the establishment, by the way, who were out to sow that kind of dissent just for this very reason.
Now, Ari, this week, Donald Trump, the birther king himself, was out golfing, get this, with Speaker Boehner this week. And he went on Fox and praised the GOP. Listen to this.
First of all, he's a very hard worker, and his focus isn't golf. His focus is work. But nobody wants
but he was golfing. But he was golfing with you.
That's true. And we had a good time. But he's a good man. Frankly, I think the speaker probably has the toughest job in the country.
Now, forget his golf game.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, the birther king, the leader of that birther fringe, having a golf game with the head of the Republican Party, with the Speaker of the House. That sends all kinds of signals to me.
I think it absolutely does. And Donald Trump was part of that famous clown car that all these Republicans claimed they wanted to get away from in the early primary season, whether you had him as a fake candidate, Herman Cain as a part fake candidate, Michelle Bachmann. You know, they had a lot of problems, and they were doing all these autopsies after the election saying, Rev, we're going to change. We're going to move past this. But as you're pointing out, I think it is a problem for them. I think that they had a guy here, Donald Trump, who peddled this crap, this affirmative action attack on the president, the birther attack, the delegitimization, and the fact that he was fundraising for Romney and is still friends with one of the most powerful Republicans, and they're doing public events.
Doing interviews.
I think it tells you a lot more than the autopsies about where they still are.
And you know, Goldie, quickly, the president's getting ready to go on vacation, and the right wing's already getting their anti-vacation rhetoric going. Look at this.
Yeah, real regular populist he is, isn't he?
Yeah, then he's off to Martha's Vineyard for a vacation, and the mere mortals are upset because the roads are closed.
I have no problem with President Obama. If he likes to wear that little helmet, ride the bike in Martha's Vineyard, that's fine.
I mean, give me a break, Goldie.
You know, President Bush spent more time on the Crawford Ranch, I believe, than he actually spent in the White House. Yep. And so if we want to talk about vacations, we should first talk about, you know, the last commander-in-chief. This president has every right to take a vacation. He has every right to play basketball or any other hobby that he may have, or play golf, just as Speaker Boehner does. You know, these kinds of assaults on the president, I think, again, are due to what I call Obama derangement syndrome. You know, they just can't believe that an African-American man is afforded the same rights as any other white president who's held that office.
Rev, quickly, the Congress is also on vacation this whole term.
Oh, no.
They've held one vote on jobs-related legislation, not on the mortgage thing that the president was talking about this week, not on the jobs bill, and not on renewing the Voting Rights Act. So they need to come back to work first.
But the real question is, given their workload, what are they taking a vacation from? Goldie Taylor and Ari Melba, thank you both for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth her people with something to hide.